I'll hit you with the number one thing, and this is the thing that you always got to focus on. You got to know your customer, know your audience. Who are you marketing to? If you're going to a hotel show, you got to market to the hoteliers. You got to give them an enhanced in-person experience so they know how our technology will be incorporated into their hotels.
I'm your host, Chris Starkey. This podcast is dedicated to those event professionals just trying to navigate one of the toughest industries in the world, being an event producer. Of course, there's the military and being a policeman, a fireman, but trust me, being an event producer ain't no joke. And this podcast is solely dedicated to those individuals just trying to navigate every single day. And today on our program, we have a planner who's been doing it for about 15 years. Most recently, he's with an amazing company right now. They're called Adyen. They're about to take over the payment platform world, going to target PayPal eventually. But hey, if you're looking for an investment opportunity, you got to check out this company called Adyen. They're doing their thing. And Michael is one of their senior event producers. Michael, thank you so much for being on Top 3 Thursday. We so appreciate it. Michael, in your journeys, I know you've been in the event space for many years, all the way based back going 2015, even maybe potentially even earlier than that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Right on college for the most part.
Yeah, I love it. And you went to San Jose State, which is a beautiful college, and you lived in San Francisco. I see the San Francisco 49er hat. Congrats on all that, on the success. I'm sorry we didn't really hit it at the very end, but I'm sure there's a jaded envy of the Chiefs, but congrats nonetheless.
No, the 49ers have been one of the most successful franchises in the last 5 years of professional sports. They just haven't been able to win the big one, but I think the big one might be coming eventually.
Yes, I love it. So as long as you have Christian McCaffrey at the ready, he went to school in our backyard. My daughter actually goes to the same high school, Valor High School, where he went. And, we sure would love to have him here in Denver at some point, but the guy is a monster. So just a quick prediction. Do you think San Fran's going to do it again in the Super Bowl next year?
It's always very hard to make it back to the Super Bowl. They were in the Super Bowl in 2019. I also thought they were going to make it back very shortly after. It took an additional 5 years. But when you play with a cheap quarterback, which Brock Purdy is at the moment, making 800, 900 grand, which is peanuts in NFL circles, you always got a chance. And so the window is slowly closing.
I heard that. I love it. Okay. So I know you've been with Adyen for a couple of years now. So tell me, first of all, how many events are you doing on an annual basis right now? I know you travel all over the world, there's countless locations all over the world. I know that Adyen is just on the cusp of basically, maybe someday taking over PayPal as a payment platform. That's the hope someday, right? I watched some of the investor calls with your CEO, so it was extremely interesting. If you're listening, you may have to invest a little bit to our listeners, but fantastic focus, vision, all the above. I love it. But in your world, in the event world, how many events are you doing annually?
So Adyen itself as a global company does over 150 events yearly. Now, me, I can't be everywhere. I would love to be everywhere, but I can't be everywhere. Me personally, last year I managed 15 events within the United States.
Got it. And I know on your background, you have a lot of integration on the trade show side in the past. Are you still continuing to do that on the Adyen side, or more complete GSs, sales conferences, all those? Or what's the day in the life of you, Michael?
We do a little bit of everything here at Adyen. We do everything from webinars. I have my hands in webinars alongside with an ABM and DG team. I have my hands on even internal events that we do just internally, but predominantly we do still the conference trade show circuit, but we've been adding a lot of what we call Adyen owned events to our repertoire. So we're kind of being crafty and doing some of our own little networking things, either tied to a conference or sometimes just on our own here in San Francisco or New York for the most part.
And how often are you traveling? Are you on the road all the time?
Last year was a big travel year. I'd say outside of, the company sometimes sends us to Amsterdam 2 or 3 times a year. So that's a nice little perk that they give us. But outside of that, yeah, I probably travel outside of that an additional 4 to 5 times a year.
And your family, man, I know you have how many kids? 2 kids? 1 kid?
Just one. I got a 5-year-old son.
5-year-old son. Fantastic. Okay. And it's always the challenge with the planners, specifically in your position with that travel. making sure that you're having that home friendly life as well, which I know is very difficult in your industry. Tell me, coping in terms of that. I'm not sure how many, I'm sure probably a week, couple weeks out of every month, maybe you're on the road based on 15 events, but maybe less. I'm sure you have your strategies in place right now, having that friendly home life, correct? Balance?
It can be tough. There's times that I'm away from the house 10 days in a row. And it's like you're missing so much, you feel. And I'm a big family guy in the sense that I'm taking my son to practice. I'm taking him to school. I'm doing homework with them. I'm doing it all. And so the work schedule can be kind of rough. And then sometimes you get, late nights where you're working late night, and that can be tough too. But it's just all about a balance, man. You got to balance your life out, get some me time. And really, back in the days, I used to be a weekend warrior in another way. But now being a weekend warrior in terms of the dad life, taking them out to the park, playing sports, etc. I just like to be involved. And while this industry can be difficult in terms of just the hectic travel schedule, if you just have a good spouse who kind of can work with their schedule, always a crucial component.
Absolutely. So how many people are on your team right now, Michael, with the event team?
The events team, so we're kind of at Adyen, we're kind of verticalized. So we have our unified commerce pillar, we got our digital pillar, and we got our platforms pillar. I handle the platforms pillar, so my pillar is just me. But in total, as part of the Adyen North America, we have 3 other event managers.
Got it. Okay. One of the things we talk about on the top end of this show is being someone in your position, besides being in the military or being a police officer, fireman, is one of the most stressful industries in the world, right? And there's so many people counting on you delivering day in and day out based on the profitability, the ROI, all the things that they're counting on you to deliver, to not only broadcast the vision, make sure the delegates are happy as part of the events. And at the end of the day, I'm sure CMOs, COOs, or CFOs are also looking to profit bottom line of that kind of investment. So there's a lot riding on what you're doing. How do you cope with that stress?
I would say that, if you're in this business, you kind of have to roll with the punches in a way. And that's part of the reason why I got in this business, is that not one day is the same. All days are different. There's new challenges. There's new things you got to solve. And I love that nature of the business. I like the unpredictability of, hey, I'm not going to be sitting at my laptop putting together spreadsheets all day. I'm going to be out there sometimes talking to customers. I'm going to be out there talking to different stakeholders. I'm going to be talking to people from all walks of life. But to your point, it can be very stressful. You got a lot of masters to feed in this role, and it's sometimes a very thankless job. And as an experienced veteran in this role, I've learned, like I said, to roll with the punches, kind of know what to say, what to do, and cool that the work actually matters too. Because there's a lot of people that got an opinion about how to run an event. But at the end of the day, does it meet your goal? Does it meet your pipeline? Does it meet your envisioning of what the event was? And ultimately, that at the end of the day is what matters. And your customers, of course. Don't forget about the customers. You got to remember the customers.
You should go on the road, Michael, do some speaking for sure. Love that. If I was before we get into our question, living in San Francisco and California, great question for you. Do you experience a different culture of integration with suppliers or even the delegates that you have to navigate, especially, having offices all over the world, potentially even just like San Francisco and New York, as you referenced a little bit ago? Do you have to put yourself in a different mindset integrating in those locations? And if so, how do you become a chameleon in that world?
Yeah, New York and San Francisco, two of the most expensive places to live in the world, not just for living expenses, but also for event expenses. It's different because New York, for us especially, you get a lot more of the corporate folks. You get a lot more of the suit and tie folks. But in San Francisco, you get a lot more of the techie folks. So we find that a lot of our SaaS-based companies, and I work in platforms, like I said, they're based out of here in San Francisco. So that's good for me. I don't got to really travel that far away, especially when we're doing our own event. But in New York, It can be a little bit challenging because I'm always speaking from my perspective as being an event manager in the platform space. Not much platforms out there in New York as much as here in the Bay Area. So I think they knew what they were doing by putting me in the platform space because I'm based out of here. So I can kind of work on the same time as a lot of these folks.
Right. So out of all the places that you travel all over the world, you referenced Amsterdam, is there one place that when you see it come across your desk, your computer, that we're having an event there, what's the place that puts a pit in your gut every single time you see that location?
Orlando, Florida.
And we have an office in Orlando. So tell me, my brother, tell me what's up with Orlando that gives you that pit?
I will preface this by saying that I've only been there in the summer, but man, you go from California, you go to Florida, two different animals in terms of the weather. It's 10 p.m. at night and I'm sweating bullets as I walk out of my hotel room, right? But to me, Orlando, nothing about the people, great people when I was there, but I just, one, not a fan of the weather, but also two, I just don't like the fact that it's like Disneyland. It's like amusement park heaven for kids. There's so many kids everywhere, and I have a kid. Trust me, I love kids. But when it's that many kids and it's like Las Vegas for kids, I'm like, I'd rather go to Las Vegas for the adults. Let me go to Las Vegas.
Transform your media or event-driven business with Mojo Makers, where we specialize in scaling your venture effectively. Eliminate the 80% of distractions holding you back and get hyper-focused toward a 10 times growth strategy. Our future filter approach cuts through the noise, keeping your business on track for record numbers. Contact Mojo Makers today and start your journey toward unparalleled business achievements. Find out more at www.mojomakers.net.
But in terms of producing the event itself, I know obviously when you go to New York, I'm a New Yorker, so the sense of urgency that happens, the very direct way of communicating, I love it to death, right? San Francisco, I'm assuming there's a similar vibe in San Fran. There's a sense of urgency. There's similar layout as New York. There's no place to park. It's very compact, so you got to make sure that you're always moving fast and you leave enough time to do whatever thing, especially with the load-ins with all your suppliers. In Orlando, things move a little bit slower, I've experienced, based on on the events that we do, based on other parts of the country. Do you feel that as well? Or are there other locations you feel differently in terms of, I got to adapt based on how these people move in the community?
A little bit more fast-paced, San Francisco, New York, as you said. Orlando, much more slower pace. Chicago, even on the fast-paced side as well, that I've been to. Love Chicago. I've done, surprisingly speaking, a lot of events in Texas, also very slow-paced. Dallas, San Antonio. But yeah, I love all the places that I travel to. I really like to just experience the city itself. But on the events front, once you're in a convention center, everything's the same. The walls are the same. The people are the same. It's all the same. But you're right. When you're in the build-up, the load in, the load out, a little bit of slow pace in Orlando and Texas versus New York, Chicago, and LA and New York.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to lead into the question of the week. So here's the deal. You, with your background, you are involved in lots of different elements, not, of course, the operation side of it, branding side of it, budgeting side of it. But based on this conversation right now, you're involved a lot in the marketing side of the event. How much marketing are you actually doing for these events?
I kind of feel like I'm the coach for these things. I'm putting everything into place here. I'm requesting graphics from the creative team. Sometimes I'll do my own graphics. I do the landing pages for our events. I do the pre-event comms via Salesforce, Marketo, et cetera, et cetera. I have my hands in just about everything when it comes to pre-event, post-event comms even. And it's all part of the job.
Absolutely. It's a jack of many trades. So I want to talk about, here's my question for you. Going all over the world, knowing that you're involved in the marketing side of making sure that the brand is there, budget's in place, of course, like I mentioned, the marketing side of it. What are the top 3 things that you have to be aware of when you're marketing an event and how it pertains to the actual success itself? So when you're marketing something, that the initiative, the strategy is going to drive this result. What are the top 3 things that you think about when that strategy is being executed? We'll start with number 3. If you have one, Michael, hit me with number 3.
You know, I'll hit you with the number one thing. And this is the one thing. I'll hit you with the number one thing. And this is the thing that you always got to focus on. You got to know your customer, know your audience. Who are you marketing to? If you're going to a hotel show, you got to market to the hoteliers. You got to give them an enhanced in-person experience so they know how our technology will be incorporated into their hotels. Now, if you're going to a payments conference, a generic payments conference where folks already know what payments are about, you kind of take another way. You don't really have to give them that enhanced in-person experience, but you send your most experienced salespeople who know how to speak the language. That's number one. Number one is know your audience. And in fact, I'd possibly say that's the most important thing in the marketing business in general.
It's got to know your audience. So, which leads me to my next question, because I know you've been involved in securing speakers for different events as well. In that world, how much are you doing that with your current position with Adyen?
Well, yes, I'm the one that kind of identifies who our top speakers are for a specific topic. I submit them, whether it be a call for speakers or whether we're paying for something. In the past, I've worked alongside PR with my other companies to identify top of the line speaking opportunities and get our execs submitted for that. It's been really different on every job that I've been at. I used to work for a nonprofit called Silicon Valley Forum, where I would literally design event programs from day 1 to event day 3 with immersion programs that would come from Taiwan, Dominican Republic, Mexico, and kind of reach out, cold calling even to back in the day. I even remember one of our top speakers before Zoom became super big was the CEO of Zoom. He came to one of our free events to talk to one of the immersion programs that we had coming in. So it's been different from company to company, but for the most part, I'm the one that kind of really handles those opportunities.
Great. So based on handling those opportunities, give me a couple people that have created the most impactful experience for your guests that that and maybe that you continue to go back to them. When you bring in a speaker, this person is going to really drive it home. And I know speakers can make it or break it based on the mojo they're creating on site. Do you have a couple speakers that you have worked with, secured that, and you continue to go back to that are going to just kill it every single time?
Yeah, at Adyen, it's a kind of a small pool of speakers that I got to choose from. But if I can point to any speaker that I have worked with as part of my 10 years of being in this industry, there's a gentleman who actually now works at Adyen, but prior to that, he worked at the company that I was at prior. Louis Debatz. He's now the VP of marketing at Adyen. That man can tell a story. He can be serious. He can be funny. And when he's funny, it's funny. And he's French, so he's got that little French twang to him. So I love to have that guy on my event programs because he just knows how to command the stage. And that's what you need in a speaker that commands the stage, that says things, that impacts the audience. I always say that it's often how the success of what you come out of a speaking opportunity is how the audience feels coming out of it. It could be the good. You want it to be good, but it could also be perhaps bad. But how does the audience feel? You want to elicit a response. And obviously, eliciting a response in a negative connotation could be bad, but how the audience feels is what's primary. And I want them to come out feeling great. And with Louis, it was always a great time.
Love it. So the last question I have for you is the bad word called AI going around right now. And I embrace AI left and right. It's my best friend.
I love it.
I use Gemini. Yeah, fantastic. And I know you have a big tech background as well in your career. So knowing that you're a one-man show based on your vertical market that you're working with, how much are you integrating AI? And if so, maybe a tip of something you're currently using that we can share with our audience.
I'm always a straight shooter. I could be using AI a lot more than I am at the moment, but I will say that ChatGPT has been my friend just in concocting emails, concocting jingles, concocting little taglines. It's been fantastic.
Well, hold on a second. You said jingles? Tell me the integration with the jingles.
Well, when you're trying to like figure out something interesting to go along with what you're doing, I feel like rhyming, not rapping, but rhyming sometimes. Well, growing up, all these commercials that I've seen, the ones that always stick to my mind are the ones that always have that jingle. And it doesn't have to be a complex jingle. It's usually something very simple, but the jingle is what gets you. And that's ChatGPT has helped me along with some of these little crafty things that I've incorporated into our events.
Okay, so when you come up with on the creative side, which is the greatest tool that AI can provide for us, especially with the ChatGPT, when your executives or colleagues hear one of these fantastic rhymes or jingles you're laying down, here's the biggest question. We're about to expose you, Michael. Do you take credit for it?
Of course. It's my
Good.
work. I'm the one that wrote the stuff into the thing, I'm the human that wrote the stuff. So I take credit 100%.
It's all about the prompt. It's all about the prompt. Absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time with Adyen. Your journey with a flourishing company is going to be amazing to watch. We'll make sure we post some information about Adyen and our information as well as with Michael as well. Michael, thank you so much for being on Top 3 Thursday. We couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to say hello to an experienced planner like yourself, and continued success with that solo show. We hope you stay in touch. And if you want to find out more about Adyen, they're about to kick PayPal's butt, people. So you got to watch out for this company. They're about to kill it, right? So thank you so much, Michael, for the opportunity to say hello. And we hope you take a listen. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Chris.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Top 3 Thursday for this week. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating. Please just leave us a review. I don't even care about the ratings. Just leave us a review. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like to hear more of, because we want to bring them back to you. I am Chris. Michael, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Top 3 Thursday.